Afternoon, everyone. I know it's nearly the end of the working day, so maybe you're having a coffee break. I definitely need to go and get a good top up. I wanted to quickly jump on and talk about children that are slow readers. I do hear this a lot. My child is really slow at reading. How do I increase their speed? They're really struggling. I want to get them to that next level of reading. And what can I do about it? There's lots of things. And don't panic is the key. They will get there, and reading can be a really difficult process, particularly if your child has got dyslexic traits or perhaps has just really fallen behind with their phonics. So in the early stages, when you've got books that look a little bit like this, and this is a really good set, by the way, by Reading Champion, one thing you can be doing is going through the book and looking for red words. What do I mean by red words? Words that cannot be sounded out. So before I present a book to any child, I might have already done it, or I will go through with them and underline them or show them. So for example, on this page here, we've got little spook was at the window. Little and spook can be sounded out. Was cannot. So I'm going to underline it. We're not going to read that together. I've actually pre-read that. And you're going to get them to look just at the pictures and then have a look at the red word. But like, oh, look, we've got a red word here. We can't sound that one out. It says was. My turn was. Your turn was. So that when they get to that, they don't get stuck and they don't try to sound out something that they can't. So just about looking ahead. You don't actually have to read the whole book. You might want to just be really quickly looking ahead and go, oh, look, red word there. Underline it. If you're not allowed to underline it, put your finger underneath it or at least point it out before. Get them to look at the pictures. They are there for a big clue. Okay, thinking about their facial expressions, what's happening in the picture. Don't let them read it yet. Just be talking about red words and pictures. If you do this and spend a good couple of minutes just looking at the whole book together, then when they get to reading that page, they will naturally be quicker, because they actually already kind of know what's going to happen in the book. It helps them to link together the words that they know they can say with the written grapheme of it. Okay, so the phoneme and the grapheme correspondence, that's how it comes in. They won't get stuck on the red words because you've already gone over them. That does help to speed them up. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. Another thing you can do is read it to them first. So you sit and read the page, and then they read the page. If you think they can handle you listening to the whole book, and then they read it, absolutely go for it. But my advice would be either read one sentence, and they read it back to you. Or you read a page, and then they read the page to you. Okay? Remembering you've already gone through, and you've had a look at those red words, and you might even point them out when you get to it. So some children do need to hear some of the words and the sounds to help that correspondence come through. Let them see the page when you read it. So as you're reading it out loud, point and let them follow along. You could be doing it like this. They could be sat next to you, but listening to some of those words is really important. Same for older readers. So I do lots of reading comprehension with year 5 and 6 children, and we're looking at this amazing book, Wild Robot, which I've just found. Really, really good. If you haven't heard of it, go and get it. It's very unusual, great book. And what we do is I read a page, you read it back to me for the less confident readers, or I read a page and then you read the page, the next page. It helps to increase their confidence because some of the same words will be coming up. Some of the same topics will be coming up. In older children's books, the illustrations, they can't rely on them so much. So when they're moving from books like this, where the pictures are extremely useful, to pictures and text which have no pictures in, you need to still do that same process of either reading it to them and they read it back, or going through the text together, picking apart some of those tricky words and phrases, and in this case it might be words they just don't know the meaning of. When they know the meaning of the word, it helps them to get that correspondence when they read it again. You may want to also underline it with a red pen and pick out some words that they don't know. Another way of increasing reading speed is rereading the same page several times. So instead of just constantly moving through the story, actually pick a really interesting part, read it several times. They don't need to be reading pages and pages at a time. To get a child to be a little bit speedier, actually rereading it is really helpful. And it will help them with their expression and intonation in their voice. Final thing, my favourite, the reading wand. Even boys like this, but they might not want pink and purple on it. They might want gold and silver. They can have whatever they want. Or you can get a ruler. Okay, some children find the ruler easier, some find a pointing stick easier. Test it out. Do they want to see a line at a time? Do they need to be pointing to a word at a time? And this still applies to these older texts. Children do find that jump from those easy texts to the hard text sometimes quite hard, and they do still need to just let their eyes focus on one sentence at a time. Sometimes this can all become a blur, particularly, like I said, if they've got dyslexic traits, this is going to be very difficult for them. Break it down, make it as easy as you can, and you could even go to, I read a sentence, you read it back to me. Okay, and just focus on that for a few weeks. Build up a vocabulary bank, so all those words you underline that they didn't know, write it on a flip chart or in a scribble book, and then they'll notice them and start seeing them again later in the book and the text, and that will help them when they get to that word rather than getting stuck on those individual bits and bobs. If your child has dyslexic traits or is really struggling with reading, you can get dyslexic-friendly versions. This is not a dyslexic-friendly version. As you can see, the text is tight together, the font's different, the letters are close together. You can find dyslexic-friendly versions. So sometimes I read my own version and I could buy another version for the child to read that has a more dyslexic-friendly font, or you can buy coloured covers as well. You do have to test out which one works for them though. So I hope that was helpful. Reading speed can be a difficult one to increase, but it just takes time, perseverance, and breaking it down into those smaller steps, picking out vocabulary that they don't know, looking at the text in advance, working together. Don't just expect them to just sit there and read. It can really make them lose their confidence, and you want to try and build that back up, and then that will then help increase the speed. Then you get more accuracy, then you get more expression and more intonation. So I hope that's helpful. If you've got any questions, comments, queries, you know where I am. Just give me a shout. And if you're not already on our Jolly Foxes page, and group, sorry, get yourself on there because we've got loads of videos. And check out YouTube because all my videos I've ever done are on the YouTube channel, Jolly Foxes Education. See you there. Bye.